Joe, Mark Simone here for Sean. He's been at the border all day with Donald Trump, with Governor Abbott. You'll see it tonight, a very special edition of Hannity. Don't miss it, 9 o'clock on the Fox News Channel. Thanks for listening. Follow me on Twitter, Mark Simone NY at Twitter. Follow me on Instagram, Mark Simone NYC at Instagram. And don't forget, check out Hannity.com. Great stories, great stuff every day. Thanks for listening. Sean will be back tomorrow.
Sebastian Gorka again for 100% drug-free Relief Factor. When I first heard several of my radio pals talking about how they were out of pain after taking Relief Factor, I was still skeptical. But I agreed to meet with the father and son owners, Pete and Seth Talbot, and all they said was, just try it. If it works, it works. Well, guess what? I tried it, and I can tell you that it works. And now we all take it, just like this person.
As I got older, I noticed pain in my hips. It was so miserable. That morning I heard about Relief Factor. I ordered it right then. Within 3 weeks, I was free of pain.
My family and I are glad we tried 100% drug-free Relief Factor. I think you'll be glad when you try it too. Pete and Seth have discounted their 3-week quick start at $64 in value to just $19.95. Order your 3-week quick start today at relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF.
Your dog is part of the family. At Rough Greens, we know that dogs need live nutrition just like we do. There's just one problem. For dog food to last, it needs to be shelf stable, and that means it has no live nutrients. The result is your dog's food is dead food. Sometimes itching and scratching, lack of energy, digestive issues, they're not medical issues at all, but more likely they're nutritional deficiencies from eating dead food. The good news is you don't have to change your dog's food to improve your dog's health. Simply add a scoop of Rough Greens and make even the best dog food better. Rough Greens is a powerful supplement that puts into your dog's food all the live nutrients they need for superior health with a flavor that'll have them licking the bottom of the bowl. We're so confident your dog will love Rough Greens that we're going to let him try it before you buy it. Free. Just cover the shipping. Get your free bag of Rough Greens today at ruffgreens.com. That's ruffgreens.com. Bring your dog's food to life with Rough Greens.
Tune in on Friday mornings to hear The Construction Connection, a collaborative effort between Joe Catanacci with the Big Talker FM and Cameron Moore, the executive officer of the Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association. You start the conversation and we bring you the answers as we take a regional, in-depth look at growth-related topics and issues centered around the residential and commercial development and building industry. The Construction Connection, Friday mornings on the Big Talker FM.
Bringing you the best local talk radio shows, Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM, WFBT, Carolina Beach.
The information on this program is intended to share the experiences others have had in battling addiction and to let you know there is hope to recover, no matter how bad things may seem. Please do not change any program you are on, especially if under medical supervision, without the approval of your doctor, counselor, or other professional treatment.
Yes, I really do enjoy that song. And good evening and welcome to Recovering Hope. And my name is Mark Markley on another beautiful Wednesday morning, the last Wednesday in June. I can hardly believe it's July 1st already tomorrow. Hope you're having a good day and enjoying the summer season so far. Hope you've gotten to the beach more than I have, because I haven't yet. And sure hope to make that up this weekend. So we're here at Recovering Hope. We do our best, and we do pray that we can bring people hope who perhaps are going through a tough battle of addiction, whether it's yourself, someone in your family, a friend, whoever it is. There's a lot of people going through this, and there are many resources available to everyone out there in our community that needs help. There's financial assistance, there's great counselors, there's good programs, facilities. My son and I operate a recovery home called Prodigal Recovery. There are many other good recovery residences here in the Wilmington region, or wherever you're watching or listening from. There's hope, there's resources. And if I could be of any assistance to anyone to help find some of those resources or hope, there are some on our webpage, recoveringhope.org. Or if you would like to call me anytime, my mobile number is 910-231-6020. 231-6020. Text, call. If you'd like to remain anonymous, I mean, I understand the importance of anonymity in this field, and I would totally respect that. So please don't hesitate. I like to take the experience that I have and have learned from many, many others and share that with you to help lighten your burden. I might say just one quick tip: take care of you first. Okay? Like they say when you take a trip on a plane, if they need oxygen in the cab, they always say, put the mask on your face first, and then you can put it on someone else's. And I want to start out with mentioning, saying a special thanks to Shelley Choquette. Shelley's a local businesswoman. I think she had only heard a promo for either this program or our recovery home. And she said, I want to get to know that guy. I want to know what he's doing. I want to jump in and see if I can help. And she has helped. She made a very generous donation last week after being here on the program, and we very much appreciate that. And Shelley, if you're listening, thanks again. That's very, very nice. Shelley's a local business owner. She's been sober for 10 years. And it's kind of interesting. She's a Christian woman. And when she was saved, I think back in around 2002, and for those who aren't familiar with that terminology, that means that she accepted Christ into her heart and became a born-again Christian. God seemed to take the drugs out of her life, but not the alcohol. And she drank for quite a few more years. And after going to an AA meeting where I think she was going to be one of the speakers, she was so, had so much anxiety, she actually stopped and bought a beer on her way to this meeting. That was the last time she put alcohol to her lips. And we're very thankful for her success, for her journey. And Shelley is all about helping others on that journey as well. So thank you, Shelley Choquette. Coming up tonight on Recovering Hope, we'll be speaking with Jeff Breedlove to learn about recovery community organizations, otherwise known as RCOs. These are safe spaces for a variety of activities for those in recovery, and they're popular in Georgia. And I said, and I posted this on Facebook, I said perhaps they'll work here in North Carolina. And my friend Wayne Ray was like, they're in North Carolina. And I don't think he used the word duh, but he was making it pretty clear that, hey, Mark, they're here. All right, Wayne, tell me more about it, or somebody else maybe can tell us more about it later. The second half of the show, we'll be speaking with Herb Stepherson. I mention Herb frequently here on the program. He is the founder of Genesis Recovery. Herb's come a long way to turn his life around and is truly making a difference for many others as well. Among other things, we'll be talking about intervention, perhaps even divine intervention. And, I want to make a point with everybody that I speak to here, and I hope that this will help encourage some people out there to begin, and to end every show, whoever I'm speaking to, with hope. What is the hope they can share, and or action? What kind of action should we take? And let's not just be all talk. I know when I began this program, I was more about, like we want action. And we have got a caller on the line, so we always know we don't. Oh, you got my guest on the line. Okay, well, you're early. It's okay. Maybe they can hang on. Okay. All right. Live radio, folks. It also occurred to me the other day that, just in my daily stroll through life, I don't care where I am, I decided that whenever I can, I want to ask someone, do you know someone, and I'm throwing this out to the audience, do you know someone that has or is struggling with addiction, or even worse, perhaps somebody that lost their life to that disease? And I was talking to a realtor the other day, and I forget how the topic came up, but I said, hey, let me ask you, do you know somebody? And he does, multiple people that have been caught up in addiction. And he had a very interesting comment or suggestion, perhaps. He thinks that the drinking age should perhaps be lowered to 18, like it used to be. My first thought was, well, that's just going to make more people drinking and driving and accidents. But, it's illegal for someone who can go serve in the military and do many other things at the age of 18, but they can't buy a six-pack of beer or a bottle of wine. Okay, so what might they do then? Well, last I saw, drug dealers don't check IDs. They don't care how old you are. So what do you think about that? Lower the drinking age to 18. I thought it was an interesting idea. But I don't know. There's something else in the news here, something that's kind of important. And let me click on this real quick. There is we had spoken to a woman named Leah Wright some months ago. She was in the process of opening up a recovery high school. So I'm going to read a quick note that I got here. Wake Monarch Academy had a ribbon cutting today at 10 o'clock this morning in Raleigh. Leah Wright, founder of Wake County Monarch Academy, and her team have been working on the first recovery high school in the Triangle since 2018. 3 years of work. Wake Monarch's belief is recovery is the most successful in the community. Leah realized the need for support and resources for adolescents struggling with substance use through her own personal struggles with her son. Through her strong faith and career as an educator, she felt led to start a recovery high school where adolescents recovering from substance use disorders could successfully pursue academic, personal, and professional goals in a safe and supportive environment. Today, her vision and hard work came to fruition as the ribbons were cut and the doors were opened. Congratulations to Leah, her husband Jimmy, and their team for making hope happen. Congratulations, Leah. That is fantastic. A couple of things in the news segment here is I think I was just looking up, what are alternatives to opiate pain medications? Apparently they're in the making. And I don't have a resource for this, but it seems credible. With the opioid crisis in full force and doctors feeling pressure to cut back on the number of opioid painkillers they prescribe, chronic pain patients aren't left with many alternatives that are as effective or accessible. So the pharmaceutical industry is looking to bring more non-opioid pain medications into the market, with 17 drugs in late-stage clinical development and 40 drugs in early-stage development. Hopefully, they're not addictive. So that's very good news. One of the new types of drugs is used to block the nerve growth factor, which can reduce pain in patients with osteoarthritis, chronic back pain, and cancer pain. Now, that's very general because there's lots of cancers and they can be very painful. But the two newsworthy drugs in this category are, I will not be able to pronounce these, tanezumab, I told you I couldn't, and fasinumab. Okay, point is, these things are in development, and hopefully they'll be brought to the marketplace sooner than later. Have you been to some of these stores, that sell a whole bunch of stuff that's borderline legal? Some of it is the CBDs and this stuff. Well, I won't get too personal and tell you who I was going in this store for, but somebody very close to me has sleep issues. All right, it's my wife. Okay, no big secret. She's had insomnia for many years, And I actually went into the store because I was hungry, and they didn't have a whole lot of food selection, but, it was fairly, nice looking and stuff, but they had all kinds of stuff, the pipes, the papers, and we all know what that's for, and somebody's calling me. They don't know what I do on Wednesday night. Sorry, folks. But they had a whole bunch of stuff on the counter that looked just like pot. Some of it was pre-rolled for you, so you didn't have to roll it yourself. Some of it's in little jars. But apparently there's some kind of level of this stuff that, and they're calling me back, that it's legal. I think it's the amount of THC perhaps that's in it. And I think it's called I don't know if it's level 7 or something like that, where 8 is illegal. Now, do you want your kids, especially because we got to nip this problem in the bud if we can before it becomes a problem? You want your kids going in these stores and seeing this stuff? Oh, yeah, sure, man. Yeah, this is legal. Well, from what I understand, this stuff gets you high just like pot. Now, maybe not as high because apparently the THC levels are less. I mean, the THC levels, and I think I mentioned this last week after speaking to somebody, they're in the 90 percentile range in a lot of the street pot that's out there. And back in my day, they were probably less than 10%. What do you think, TK? I don't mean to suggest that maybe you tried it either, but you don't know. But it's very, very high. And it gets you very, very high. Yeah, I went to a high school for sure. But I don't think this stuff should be so in your face, right on the counter. Here, you want some of this? I could see some of the gummy things that you chew to help you sleep, but I would imagine that if you took it while you're awake, you're going to enjoy some of that feeling as well. Well, I've got lots more stuff in the news here, but we're running short in my open as I usually do, so I think I'm going to just take a quick break. Oh, this is something that I heard actually a week ago from Mark Benson. If those of you familiar with the big talker, Mark Benson, Saturdays 12 to 1. Entertaining guy. Don't agree with everything he says, of course, but it sounds like that guy's been out there fighting crime and doing all that stuff for a long time. So I do respect that. But he was talking about when El Chapo's son was arrested, members of the cartel or his gang or whoever it was protested that arrest by killing a lot of innocent people and police, I think. TK, do you remember that? Okay, he doesn't have his microphone on, but that's okay. But he's shaking his head yes. Now, is this one reason that more stuff isn't done in this country? Because if you put certain people away, are other people going to be put away permanently? It's a possibility. That's why I say, it's almost all about the money. Who's getting paid, who's not getting paid. And speaking of money, I'm not getting paid to sit here and do this. And that leads me to this segment. And I never like to do this, but if you feel that some of this information and anything that people like myself are doing, if you would like to make a donation to help further this program, there are lots of things that I would like to do, but some of it is restricted because of the funds. prodigalrecovery.org or recoveringhope.org. There is a donate button there. If you'd like to donate, we would appreciate it very much. Prodigal Recovery is a 501c3, so it would be a tax-deductible donation. That would be fantastic. I've never done that before on the air, and I don't ask for it off the air either. But for this program that a lot of people have told me it's helped them and then they enjoy it, if you'd like to make a donation, we'd very much appreciate that. All right, so now it's break time. And when we come back, we'll be speaking with Jeff Breedlove about RCOs, Recovery Community Organizations. We'll be right back. Constructive Solutions is the name of my construction company. It's called Constructive Solutions because I focus on solving what it is my customers need and want, and there's always a way to get the job done. We're in our 25th year serving our community.
We handle all types of home improvements and repairs, literally from your crawl space to your roof, as well as commercial alterations. We're a small, family-owned and operated business. My wife works in the office, and my son Dylan is my right and left-hand man. Combined, we have over 70 years of experience. Dylan and I face every project or challenge that comes our way. I learned my trade from my father, who was a builder until his eyesight failed him. I was showing some employees a picture of my father working on the second-story eaves of his home, and I said, "Can you believe he's 82 and up on a homemade scaffold?" They said, "He's 82? I replied, "Yes, and he's blind. Don't ever tell me it can't be done." So if you want quality, professional service for your home or business, give us a call at 910-231-6020 or go to markmarkley.com. Besides my involvement in product recovery, I'm also in the construction business. I say that to say this. When we have tropical storms or hurricanes, the real hard, difficult, expensive, and dangerous work is usually the result of trees falling on homes or other personal property. Hurricane season is not the only time to get prepared for this. As a matter of fact, it's before and after hurricane season that you need to get prepared. My son Chris started his tree business called Climb Pro Expert Tree Care after Hurricane Florence. Chris has all the equipment and manpower to take on even the most challenging jobs. With over 20 years of combined experience, Climb Pro LLC can safely remove any unwanted hazardous trees from your property. They also offer tree pruning, elevation, deadwood removal, and other expert tree care services. Don't wait until you have a tree emergency. Visit climbpro.com, that's climb with a K. Check them out on Facebook or call Chris Markley at 910-540-5249. Mention this ad for a 10% discount. And welcome back to Recovering Hope. My name is Mark Markley. Thank you for tuning in, and we would love to assist you in any challenges that you're having associated with recovery. The website is recoveringhope.org. You can easily email me through there, look through our resources and other information about our recovery residents if you'd like. But really, we're here to serve you. That is my only reason for being here. So I hope we can do that. And we have Jeff Breedlove on the line.
Mark, how are you, sir?
Good, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
Good. Yeah, well, you're very welcome. Thank you for taking the time. And I met Jeff indirectly through another podcast. I think it was Something in the Herd. I'm sorry that I lost their name.
Get in the Herd.
Get in the Herd.
Right.
Yeah. Good.
Out of Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah, good job they do there. And you were talking about recovery community organizations. But before you get into that, Jeff, you want to, we got about another 10, 12 minutes here. You go a little bit about your story and what got you into that?
Sure, Mark. Happy to do so. So I'm Jeff Breedlove, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is it's been just over 4.5 years since I last used any substance to alter my mind. My story is my active addiction. I'm 54 years old, and my active addiction lasted basically 30 years.
Wow.
All of my adult life, from 20 to 50. And during that time, I worked professionally in government and politics. I worked for many campaigns that were known, and politicians that are known very well, and some locally here in Georgia. I worked for our governor and our state senate and up in Congress, and that whole time I was in active addiction.
Is this a good time for a joke about the government now?
Yeah, well, it could be. Sure, go ahead.
I think they're all got. Bring a few more boys into the recovery, maybe.
Well, there's no doubt that they, I say I'm also in recovery from, government and politics.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's
the
thing up there. But my story, goes where, and I don't want to take the whole time talking about it, but in the beginning, it began before social media. It began before smartphones, and the world for younger folks, they didn't live in that time in the late 80s and 90s where it was just different. you are not in touch the way we are now. You could
That's
lie
right.
and manipulate, and
That's
people
right.
thought you'd be away. And so I learned to manipulate time and distance, and my active addiction began where I used a little bit, a lot, but I could get back, and I was functional, in other words.
Yeah.
And then I lost my first job to this, and I was the political director for an entity at the time in Georgia, and the stigma, I didn't understand it at the time, but what I'm about to tell you is all about the stigma. I would get, for a period of time, I would get a job and lose a job, and I couldn't maintain very long not using, and so. But as I look back on it, I've talked to some of the people involved in the process. It was the stigma. They were just like petrified and terrified to know that they had, one of those people working for them.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, here's your paycheck, and if you just go away and never say anything, we won't say anything if anybody calls about a reference. And so I learned also how to manipulate that process, and that worked for a while until it didn't.
Right.
And I'm born and raised in Georgia. I wound up out west, going to 7 or 8 states, losing about 9 or 10 jobs. We found ourselves in California. I never thought I'd live in California. Nothing against California.
Right.
Just like, okay. And my mother-in-law got very sick. We came home to Georgia, and here's what I did. I called up the lieutenant governor of Georgia, who's a friend of mine, and said, I need a job. And he said, come to work at the state senate. And I did. And when I came home, I didn't use anything for 6 years. And my wife and I, now, we're not stupid, but we were ignorant. We didn't know. And she knew at this point about my circumstances and my disease. And we just thought, well, I'm cured. I'm better. That's it. It's done.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it wasn't. So this was kind of phase 2 of my active addiction, where I was abstinent for 6 years, and we think everything's great. Well, of course, that only lasted 6 years. And the last 11 years of the active addiction got worse. I didn't use often, but I went on binges, and it lasted a day or two at a time. They'd go 10, 11, 12 months apart.
Wow.
But they were dangerous. I was stealing money from my son, pawning things. It was a very unhealthy situation. And that culminated in November of 2016, where I was on a binge, and I was the chief of staff to a county commissioner in a large metro Atlanta county called DeKalb County. And I called a friend to help me out of debt that I had run up in the hotel room I was in. And this friend decided to call the police. Now, ironically, I was in DeKalb County. and the commissioner, my boss, and myself, we were the biggest supporters on the county commission of the police. And hypocrisy runs rampant in our disease, of course. And, I was Mr. Law Enforcement, Mr. Law and Order at the staff level, and I was arrested by my own police department.
Wow.
And I had been in police ride-alongs. I had been inside the jail as a VIP, and now I was in the jail on the other side of the bars. And for me, anonymity was never an option, because it made the Atlanta news for 3 or 4 days on TV, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the big newspaper here, and it made Facebook and Twitter and groups in Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And so it's not that I'm famous like somebody in North Carolina knows, like I'm a celebrity.
Right.
But here's what I came to know. I lived on Google forever. So if I tried to move to North Carolina and apply for a job, and somebody Googled me, I didn't have it. So I'm sitting there. My family has had it with me. I get out of jail, facing a felony charge, and I am sort of told by the attorney and the family that I will be going to treatment. And I, of course, was not excited about that. And, in fact, a little bit ugly about it. And I went to a place called MARR, M-A-R-R. It's right here in Metro Atlanta, also ironic, DeKalb County. We have more counties than DeKalb, but I seem to be there a lot. And MARR is 47 years old, and it's been around that long. And Delta Airlines sends pilots, the State Bar of Georgia and North Carolina send lawyers there. They get docs from the medical associations from southern states. It's a great professionals program. And I went there for a minimum 90-day stay, I decided to get serious about it somewhere about day 30-ish, and did my life story and dealt with some of the trauma, which was about my father, and got in touch with my higher power, which is Christ. But right about literally about the time I told my life story, and the counselors were reaching out to my father to try to see how they could bridge some of this stuff.
Yeah.
My father died of a heart attack.
Oh, wow. Before they could tell him, or?
Well, they had told him a little bit, but before I could tell him. And
I see.
I was humbled that I was allowed to go to the hospital, but not alone. You know, my roommates had to go with me from the treatment center, and I said goodbye to my dad on his deathbed. He was unconscious, but here's the ironic thing. One of my roommates was a heart surgeon.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, look, your dad can hear what you're saying. I know perfectly well what's happened. So I did my amends and talked about my life story to my father while he was unconscious.
Wow.
And then he died the next day. And,
Man,
you know, I left treatment. It was powerful. So I leave treatment, and I'm watching these pilots and doctors and lawyers. They're all going back to work, right?
Right.
And think about that. Pilots are flying planes. That's the power of recovery.
Yeah.
But in government or politics, there's no forms you fill out with the FAA or the state bar, and everybody goes, hey, you know, Jeff Breedlove can go back into politics. So I get depressed. I enter basically clinical depression because I'm like, I'll never work in the field I love again. I didn't know yet about this recovery community. The director of my men's program knew about it, of course, but they had kind of shielded that from me in treatment. And finally, when they were ready for me to go to work, which was 2 years later, I went to, you know, in the big book, it talks about going to any lengths to do it. Well, they were like, Jeff's not ready to go back to work. He'll just relapse. And so my wife stood by me. But 2 years later, they told me about the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse and about this recovery community. And the Attorney General of Georgia is a friend of mine, and he was going to help me get a job there. And I met Neil Campbell, who's our executive director, and I didn't even know there was an awesome, amazing leader like a Neil Campbell. But the council is 21 years old this year, and Neil's been executive director for 12. She's in recovery, of course. Her story is even more amazing than mine. She's former law enforcement, former police officer, and she's been in recovery for 30 years, and she's got her own powerhouse story. And Neil, you know, everybody on her staff is in recovery. There's 31 or 2 of us, you know, basically on the staff there, and we're all in recovery. And I learned about this family, this community of recovery, and the council does great work, and that's kind of how I got to be a part of it.
Yeah. Okay. That's quite an interesting story there, Jeff. And so
that was just the highlight.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. That was the Cliff Notes version. But
Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, if you could now tell us about these recovery communities. And you know, when I don't know if you saw the notice I put up, or whatever you want to call it, about the show tonight. You know, I mentioned that they don't have these in North Carolina, and one of my friends who runs quite a significant and successful recovery business said they're here. You know, they're already here. So I don't know if they are or not, but wherever they are, give us a brief understanding of what they are, please.
Sure. And yes, he was referring to our friends at the launching pad there, Mr. Ray and his team in Wilmington. And there's one recovery communities in North Carolina out of Raleigh with Dr. Rita Linger. Yeah. And
do you know Wayne?
Great. I know of them. Yes.
Okay. And, so is Wayne's business considered a community resource?
So that's the beauty of it. By North Carolina standards, absolutely. So here's the thing. Recovery community organizations ultimately are funded at the federal government level and administered through SAMHSA, which is, you know, the kind of the go-to place in the federal government for addiction and recovery. Yeah. It's an important part of recovery in Washington. And so that's the beauty of this, of what's going on here. There's some legal guidelines that people have to follow. Of course. Right. I describe it like a baseball field. You know, take those fair and foul, you know, those foul lines up and down third base. You got to stay in fair ground, but there's a lot of field in between third base and first base in the infield and the outfield to be creative. Okay. So how North Carolina defines RCOs isn't going to necessarily be the same as Georgia or Maine or Pennsylvania or Massachusetts or whatever.
Right.
So I can tell you a little bit more about the Georgia story, what has been done here by a great team of people.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so in Georgia, the way I describe an RCO is if you think about addiction, and a lot of people just say, there's two parts of it. There's active addiction and then treatment, and you're better. That's what I thought, and I know that's what a lot of people think today. Well, that's not the correct formula. There's three parts of it. It's active addiction, plus whatever multiple pathway, we believe in multiple pathways you can get. You don't have to go to MAR like I did. There's multiple pathways to get legitimate treatment with integrity. And but you get some kind of, everybody needs some kind of, treatment, however they define it and whatever works for them. But the third part of that is recovery. And that's what a recovery community organization is all about. So first of all, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not a treatment center in Georgia. And I'm going to talk for the listeners. I'm only talking about Georgia moving forward here. It's not a treatment center. It's a place where you go after treatment to maintain your recovery. And if you think about it, for most people, God willing, and health and all that, most people are in recovery perhaps as long or longer than their active addiction. Now, for me, the math is 30 years of active addiction. Whatever, I may be the same. But you get the point. You can be in recovery for a very long time, and so we need. And if you believe, like I believe, like the Big Book talks about, and I think everybody agrees on. Recovery is one day at a time, one hour at a time, and maybe sometimes 1 minute at a time. And that's what these places are there for. Now, they're welcome. Anybody's welcome. I mean, you could be a multimillionaire, or you could be in debt, and never had a job, or anybody can come. But we know practically that, let's say you're a person and you've been to some kind of treatment and you feel like you're on the path, but you can't afford to keep seeing you just can't afford to do it indefinitely. Well, that's one reason why we have these places, is because they allow people to maintain recovery. Now, at this point, people might be saying, "Oh, what do you do there?" And that's the beauty of it too. Just like each state can define an RCO, in Georgia we have about 36 of these, and our state land-wise is bigger. We're the biggest state land-wise east of the Mississippi River, so we're much bigger land-wise than North Carolina, and y'all aren't small, so you can get how big we are. And so these are in urban downtown Atlanta. They are in suburban Atlanta, but they are also all across rural Georgia. And each part of our state has different needs from a recovery perspective. And so, we service all parts of Georgia geographically, and at ours, there's a formal process one goes through. So, it's not like the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse. We don't just say, "Hey, we need one of these in Savannah, so we're going to open one." It doesn't work that way at all. What we do is a group of citizens says, "Hey, we want to have one of those." Well, we work with them on a very formal process. It takes multiple months to go through the process in Georgia. Now, we're not talking a ton of money, but it does take a ton of time. Because the secret sauce, the secret to our success in Georgia, is community buy-in. So it works from the ground up, not the top down. We're the only statewide RCO, the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse. We are the only statewide one. But our power comes from listening and being of service to people locally, not telling people what to do. So what we do, we administer these meetings for them, and they go through this process. All these people get invited, you shake out who's really committed, who's not. And at the end of the process, you've got a core group of diverse. By definition, they're diverse. Many of them didn't even know each other when the process began. But they're all committed to it. You kind of get that dream team locally. And then they do have to work within our fair and foul lines. They got to follow the state of Georgia's requirements, the federal government's requirements, and even we have some requirements, but they're very broad. But within those broad legalities.
Let me ask you, Jeff. I'm sorry to interrupt. We're running a little bit short on time, but my understanding was, and I know that they vary from place to place within the state of Georgia, but, like one place could have, maybe they lease a building or buy a building or whatever it is, and people come in and do arts and crafts. or
Right, yeah, let's
or
get to that real
you have
quick.
musicians.
Right.
Yeah, like what actually goes on there, and
Right, yeah.
yeah, and
Exactly.
yeah.
They all have their unique centerpiece, showcase program, if you will. We have one in downtown Atlanta that's
Okay.
known for art.
Okay.
We have one in Athens, Georgia that's known as a women's place. We have one in Southeast Georgia known for their drive-in food pantry.
Okay.
But people can go in and chill out. They can go in
Yeah.
and learn how to get a job. They can go in
Right.
and play games. They can go to 12-step meetings. They can go to
Mhm.
all recovery meetings.
Okay.
There's no end to what they can do in these places.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That I think that gives me a better understanding of it anyway. So,
And they're all driven. Remember, all those things are driven locally because we know that, and they know more importantly than what we know. They know that in downtown Atlanta there was a strong arts community. So if you had a place for artists and musicians and people very creative,
mm-hmm.
well, they would actually come to this place voluntarily, and it would grow.
Right.
Word of mouth would grow it. And
Right.
that's one of our most active ones.
And I'm sure that, people are not in active addiction, but it's not like you're going to drug test them at the door. But they would
Exactly.
know it's for people in recovery. And I'm sure people that are not in recovery and they want to listen to or get in the band or paint pictures or do pottery, go ice skating, which would have to be indoor, I guess. But, whatever it is. Yeah, they have one of those here, too. Up north, we skated on the bay. But yeah, so that's very good. So it's just something else for people to do, and what it is.
Right, and I want to say one thing before I run out of time. Let me just say that, which you made a good point. These are all peer led. There's no authorities there. There's no doc. There's no law enforcement, and that's why it works. Is because we don't micromanage what each RCO. Who sometimes people may have to leave if they're inappropriate, but they're really open for everybody. 99%, it's a brotherhood, a sisterhood. Come on in. We'll meet you where you are. That's the key. Meet somebody where they are on their terms.
There you go.
Give them a safe place. And it's all peer-led. So instinctively, the local peers, they know how to take care of their RCO. They know who should and shouldn't be there. And it's rare when somebody shouldn't. These are the safest, most inclusive places for recovery in Georgia.
Yeah.
And they're just a miracle. They save lives every day. They go into prisons. Most of them go into prisons, and they make relationships with the sheriffs, and the sheriffs let these RCOs bring recovery into the jails.
Yeah, that's important.
These RCOs are going into hospitals now. They're meeting with PTAs. I mean, these RCOs just do so much community outreach, too, to break that stigma, normalize
it's important.
the fact that this is a disease and not a moral failing. They do that community outreach, which is so important in their local community. That only locals can do. Y'all know that.
It is. Yeah. And there's something like that is developing here as a result of a rally that we had last month. The organization is appalled. What does it stand for? It's about just being against drugs. Association of People Against Lethal Drugs. Appalled. They had a rally. One of the organizers called me today. They're starting something else. This sounds like it might almost fit into there. But, Jeff, thanks for that information. Thanks for all that you do. It's an incredible story of recovery that you have. And just real quick, a hope that you can give to the listeners. I'd like to end up with that.
Here's my hope, everybody. I promise you this. Addiction is very real, but recovery is real. COVID didn't stop us. Don't ever give up on the hope of recovery because recovery is real.
Excellent. Jeff Breedlove, thank you so much for your time, sir. I appreciate it, and we'll stay in touch.
Mark, thank you for your good work, brother.
All
Good to
right.
be on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you. And we're going to just take a quick break, TK, if we can. Then we'll get Herb Stepherson on the line. And one of the things that I want to do with Herb is, besides talk about intervention, I want to see if I can find out, for those of you that don't know, and to help clear it up for me, is almost step by step, easy for you to say. Somebody is ready to get clean, get sober. Let's see if we can outline that for folks. We'll be right back. Besides my involvement in prodigal recovery, I'm also in the construction business. I say that to say this. When we have tropical storms or hurricanes, the real hard, difficult, expensive, and dangerous work is usually the result of trees falling on homes or other personal property. Hurricane season is not the only time to get prepared for this. As a matter of fact, it's before and after hurricane season that you need to get prepared. My son Chris started his tree business called Klein Pro Expert Tree Care after Hurricane Florence. Chris has all the equipment and manpower to take on even the most challenging jobs. With over 20 years of combined experience, Klein Pro LLC can safely remove any unwanted hazardous trees from your property. They also offer tree pruning, elevation, deadwood removal, and other expert tree care services. Don't wait until you have a tree emergency. Visit kleinpro.com, that's Klein with a K. Check them out on Facebook or call Chris Markley at 910-540-5249. Mention this ad for a 10% discount. Constructive Solutions is the name of my construction company. It's called Constructive Solutions because I focus on solving what it is my customers need and want, and there's always a way to get the job done. We're in our 25th year serving our community. We handle all types of home improvements and repairs, literally from your crawl space to your roof, as well as commercial alterations. We're a small, family-owned and operated business. My wife works in the office, and my son Dylan is my right and left-hand man. Combined, we have over 70 years of experience. Dylan and I face every project or challenge that comes our way. I learned my trade from my father, who was a builder until his eyesight failed him. I was showing some employees a picture of my father working on the second-story eaves of his home, and I said, "Can you believe he's 82 and up on a homemade scaffold?" They said, "He's 82? I replied, "Yes, and he's blind. Don't ever tell me it can't be done." So if you want quality, professional service for your home or business, give us a call at 910-231-6020 or go to markmarkley.com. There's some throwback music from my old radio days. We had a good time then, too. Welcome back to Recovering Hope. My name is Mark Markley. Pleasure to be here with you again this Wednesday evening. And with no further ado, we are speaking with Mr. Herb Stepherson. Is that you, Herb?
Yes, sir. Herb's here. What's happening?
Oh, man, there's a lot going on. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Sitting in this crazy, huge drive-through line at Dunkin' Donuts right now.
Oh, are you? I thought you were taking your son to a baseball game, or are you just taking a break?
No, I took him to practice.
Oh, okay.
And running over to grab a coffee before I got to pick him up. They're doing hitting practice today. It's all-stars, so
nice.
They have practice every day, yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, look, man, I'm sorry I was a little long on that last one, but, there's just always so much to talk about. And, I share a lot of your stuff, on a regular basis here on the program because you really do offer a lot to the recovery community. And I know that when I messaged you last week, intervention is one of the things that is somewhat of a mystery to me, but I was going to go into details on that. But I thought something that I had in my notes that I mentioned before the break, let's say, somebody has a loved one or even an individual that's struggling with addiction themselves. I know that every case is different, and my previous guest just mentioned that too. So there is no real cut and dry model, but where do people start, Herb, from your experience? And can you kind of walk us through the recovery process? I understand it's one day at a time. I guess there's no such thing as, okay, that's it, I'm done forever. But do you think that's a good thing to share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, of course it's one day at a time, but I'm not exactly sure that I'm understanding if there's a question in there somewhere. Yes.
So somebody, if somebody, gets in touch with Genesis, what is the first step? If somebody just tells their mom or their dad, I realize I need help, where do they go? What is that process? Because it can get very confusing for people, I think.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we started out as an intervention firm specifically. And that was, for the unwilling, those who were in, extreme denial, who weren't ready to, confront their demons, etc. but because of the, the press and the attention that the company was getting through intervention, we had a great deal of people reach out who are willing to get help themselves. And so when it comes to intervention, that piece is actually targeted on those that are not willing, those that are in denial, those who won't, necessarily accept the help that, the parents or the wife or the kids or whoever is pushing them to get. And then what they would do is they would contact us, and we would coordinate it all to get everybody who loves the addicted person, there physically, and actually take them through, a problem-solving session, a family workshop, education. What are we up against? How do we get inside the mind of an addict? What's our 1-year plan? And essentially provide the blueprint, from a practical standpoint on how to love this person, into and through recovery. And, when the family's involved, as a team, and there's a professional there, and we're able to be the spokesman of the family for the family and deliver that tough message of, this is over for us. It's time for you to accept this. It's time to get some help. It's successful 95 times out of 100.
Wow.
And then as far as people who are willing, they just reach out, and because we've been doing this for so long, we have resources all over the country where we can get a person into treatment today.
Wow.
So usually the turnaround time, if somebody reaches out and they're willing, they have a bed lined up and secured within like 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that window of willingness is only going to stay open for so long.
Right.
And, one of the things that we really try to focus on is striking while the iron's hot. So if that window of willingness is open, we need to capitalize.
Okay. So you work with interventionists all over the country?
I do.
Or you go yourself if at all possible?
I do locals.
Okay.
But lately, the last year and a half, it's been so busy. I haven't been able to go out on them because there's so many to coordinate.
Wow.
I couldn't possibly market it and run it and coordinate it. And
Right. Oh no, I'm sure that.
You know what I mean?
That's why I was surprised. Yeah. So that's amazing. So somebody, what's the best number for you, Herb?
219-916-7236.
Okay. And is that office or a mobile?
That is my mobile. That's the number we're on right now.
Okay,
I always
thought
answer
so.
my phone.
Yeah, good. So do I. So I'm going to repeat that, 219-916-7236. And folks, if you're listening, and with Facebook, people could be anywhere in the country or for the world, for that matter. Please, if and how do they know? I mean, the loved one, I guess, calls you first because somebody that needs an intervention is going to say, "Okay, come do an intervention for me." So they call you. What's next? Walk us through that process.
Okay, so essentially, our first call, we try to make it last, anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour on that initial call.
Right.
And that's to really, start building a case file, starting to really get to know the person, start to get to know the family, the situation, how did we get here, what's going on in this special person's life that's got them spiraling like this, when did it all start, it's a fact finding, are there any pending legal issues, health issues, comorbidities, any CPS involvement, probation, parole, are they a faith-based person, are they not a faith-based person, and really get a snapshot of this human being and this family circle and system so that we're as well prepared ahead of time as we can be moving in. This is when we also, what I call, rally the troops. This is when I'm talking, it's usually mom or dad that reaches out. Once we're done, we're commit. Once we're done with that first call, they're committed. Then we're immediately locking in the 2 days. The first day is the family day. The second day is the intervention. The addict is not there at the family day. They're not there until the intervention itself. But, once you're talking to me, once a family's talking to me, it's going to happen quickly. So, we're talking life or death. So, we're going to be looking at family day this Saturday, intervention Sunday.
So family day is, just to break it down, is whoever the family, close friends, whatever, you get together, you speak to them, and on a personal, whether it's you or one of the people that you work with, so they really get to know more details, look at the environment, see what's going on, whether the individual lives there or not. You're getting better, more intimate information about this person.
Correct. We want those secret places. We want to be able to fully expose the disease.
Yeah.
So,
well put. And I like the way you said. I like the way you said we want to get to know this human being. It's not like they're a number, a statistic, or I like the way you refer to that, Herb, and that's who you are, man. And I like that. So day one, family day. Day two, I hate to say set the trap, but they invite this person over, and I'm sure there's ways to help ensure that they show up.
Yes, sir. And that's another thing we talk about during the family day process is, how are we going to actually get in front of them?
Right.
And typically what we'll utilize is an invitational model where we will actually, have family there and say, hey, Grandpa Gene's in town or Uncle Dave or whatever. We all want to see and invite them over, and then just that softens the blow a little bit. We don't want them to feel ambushed.
Right.
We don't want them to feel attacked.
Yeah.
But we want to let them know we're doing this because we're doing this out of love for you.
Yeah. So
kind of
like a surprise party. So when they come and they see the cars and then they know, okay, well they're here because Uncle Joe's in town. Sounds smart. And, I was just talking before I spoke with you, I was speaking with a gentleman from Georgia. He was in active addiction for 30 years until he was only 4.5 years clean, until he was 54 years old. 30 years in active addiction. And I know you've got quite a story. We can go there, but that'll be another interview. But it's amazing, what you're doing, what you've done, and it's really great. So, person comes in and surprise, or do they automatically know, okay, this isn't a reunion, this is an intervention?
Well, typically what gives it away is because we have those closest core intimate relationships there in the room, and then some guy that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
That usually tips them off right away.
Yeah.
But we're and that's why it pays to have that professional there, because we can control the flow.
Yeah.
We don't want it to turn into some Jerry Springer episode.
Yeah.
We want them to know that this is about love.
Right.
And we're just here to have a talk. We just have a few things that we want to say, and this is nothing but dignity and respect.
There you go.
And we're here out of concern for you.
Right.
And if you had cancer, we would be doing the same thing. We would be supporting you and surrounding you and lifting you up and encouraging you to take that treatment, to take that therapy.
Right.
And this is no different. We're doing the same thing for you because we're not going to watch you slowly suicide. It's just we're just not going to do it.
And that's what it is. And I remember saying this last week. I forget who I read it from, but addiction is suicide on the installment plan. And
that's exactly what it is.
That is what they're doing. It's slowly but surely, and it's going to end up in death or jail or both.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I think you said that there is a very high success rate for those who will go through the intervention, but it's more difficult than it should be to get somebody to that point to agree to the intervention. Do you find that more of a problem with the family, I guess, because you're not dealing with the addicted person? You're typically dealing with the family. Do some family, are they reluctant to do that because they might be afraid of it backfiring or something?
Oh, absolutely. There's a saying in this industry that the family is sicker than the addict. And so what'll happen is we actually have numbers for that too. 1 in 10 will actually secure the intervention and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
But of those 1 in 10, 9 of those 10, people that do the intervention will see their loved one go to treatment on the second day.
Wow.
And a big reason why people don't want to actually pull the trigger on an intervention is, they're not quite ready to accept the fact that they need outside help, or they're ashamed, or they're afraid, they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. Maybe tomorrow will be a better day.
Yeah. Oh, I've said that plenty of times. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a job interview next week. He doesn't need to go to treatment and then die.
Yeah.
Wow. Typically what we see is families are stuck between two very powerful emotions, hope and fear.
Yeah.
And, I'm afraid that if we don't do this, something terrible is going to happen. I'm afraid if we do this, he's not going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm also hopeful that, he'll turn it around magically after, 11 years of shooting heroin in his neck. Next week is just going to be the magical day that he, finally just gets clean.
Yeah.
Voila.
Yeah.
And so, but we have to keep in mind that we're dealing with the result. We're dealing with the bottom. We're dealing with the culmination of years and years and years of manipulation and compromise and hijacking and denial and deflection. And so it's actually very difficult to infiltrate into, some of these family systems because they're so, there's so much rich history there that, it's kind of hard to penetrate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. What portion of your business is the interventions? Is that what you do the most?
Oh, we are primarily an intervention firm.
Okay.
But I would say we're probably helping one person every single day. It averages out.
Wow. Yeah.
Willingly go into treatment. My phone rings every day.
Wow.
I just helped a couple out over in Illinois. They were looking for some help navigating the state Medicaid places, and that's another thing too. People that are on Medicaid, they don't know how to use it or where to go.
Yeah. Herb, I'm sorry we're coming up on a hard break here, man. But once again, that number 219-916-7236. Keep it up, my friend. You're doing a great job, and certainly look forward to learning more from your experience and sharing that with others.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. Enjoy your
I really
your coffee.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. We'll talk soon.
How's your brother doing?
Oh, he's doing amazing,
Good.
man. He's coming up on 3 years.
Great.
He's one of the assistant directors at the Halfway House here.
Nice. Tell him I said hey, will you?
I absolutely will, Mark.
Right.
Thank you so very much, man. I
Take care.
appreciate you. Yeah,
all right, you be good. Now, real quick, folks, next week we're going to be speaking with Dr. Morse. Dr. Morse runs about 8 clinics in North Carolina, all about medical-assisted treatment. Don't want to miss next week. Thank you, and may God bless your evening.
Bringing you the best local talk radio shows, Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM, WFBT, Carolina Beach.